Asma, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me about all things imagination in your industry.
Thank you so much for having us today.
So, I wanted to first start with a little bit of an introduction. Tell me about you. Who are you? What is it you do? What's your experience?
So I am Asma Aljassmi. I work with a big developer here in the UAE. Developer, basically a real estate company. We build and sell, real estate. I have a background in civil engineering. I did a master's in urban planning. I have a special interest on sustainability. So I just finished a professional education course with MIT. It was amazing. And it also led to me having my own startup called Sustain Insight.
So, basically, you're through and through someone who's worked in the construction industry and understands the realm of it, not just from building something, but also how it's placed in the urban environment and now from a sustainability perspective.
Exactly. So I'm currently managing a portfolio of almost 260 projects worth almost 100 billion dirhams. I'm actually managing the operations and control of those projects. So kind of sitting in the center or the heart of the organization to glue all of the different departments, whether it's procurement, finance, delivery team, designs team, and what have you. So this is what I'm doing. Just one thing that I've worked for the government as well for a very long time, almost 15 years with the government, and I recently moved to a real estate developer. And it just, the way things are happening and the way things are realizing is much different when you move from a government, sorry, to a private sector.
And given the fact that you have experience on both sides of this same industry, which is in essence the construction industry, what is it that you're seeing that's not just like changing fast, but that people are struggling to keep up with or even imagine?
I think I would just want to say that, construction industry is a very heavy in terms of labor, right? It's a very slow to digitize and innovate industry, I would say. We didn't see much innovation happening in the construction industry for a very, very long time. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. One of the reasons is that contractors are really working with a very low margin. So they really are very heavily cash flow. So they really barely stay, floating between one project and the other. And that's why they really look at disruption and innovation as a luxury rather than a necessity. And this is what we've been seeing over the past couple of years. It's very expensive for them to innovate and to really use those new innovations that we've been seeing for now a while, like the modular construction, the 3D printing. We've been seeing for quite a while now, and it's not widely used as we wish it is.
So why isn't it widely used? I know that the construction industry has some of the most wasteful practices, and modular construction and 3D printing helps reduce that waste and also can be more personalized. So why aren't they adopting that?
It's simply because of as I said, they're really cash flow dependent. Literally, they upfront their costs, or from project to project, and that's why it's very difficult for them to put that investment upfront. Like modular
Mhm.
construction will require, first of all, I work in the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and we don't have really the facilities here that does that. And to open facilities here, it requires some investments. And this is what they lack. And I believe that it requires really, people who have this belief that this is the way to go, and they would invest a lot of money upfront to have it here and to use it for projects. 3D printing as well. I mean, in my company, we did try it at one project. And again, it depends. It's not a vast, or it cannot be applied on a volume. Like we build a lot of homes at the same time, right? And it
Mhm.
requires 3D printing will require a lot of equipment and a lot of, it's kind of for us, maybe it could be even slower. Although the benefits of it is very, very promising. Like as you said, reducing the waste, even in terms of sustainability, when it comes to
Mhm.
construction, right? That's a huge plus. However, it's just like it's too expensive. It's too expensive to make it more commercialized and used widely. I would say
Hmm.
it's really applied, but on a case by case, for a certain project. But when you go for volume, it's a bit it's people are cautious because of the cost.
Hmm. And what is it that people in the industry struggle to imagine? Like, what is the new way of maybe construction or architecture or even sustainability and wellness? What are the things that you see that people are struggling to reimagine in your industry?
Again, imagining construction where there are three factors, right, that we always imagine to achieve, right? Just basically, how can I deliver my project, on cost or budget? How can I deliver my project on schedule? And how can I deliver my projects better in terms of quality, right? So these are the
Mm-hmm.
areas where we really imagine. I've been working in this industry for a long time, and I never see a project where it didn't have all of those dilemmas and chaos, right?
Yeah.
Whether we need extra budget here and there are new policies that disrupts, and then like as simple as, for example, passing a policy not to allow trucks to move on this road from here to here, from this time to this time, which impacts logistics, which impacts costs and time and what have you. So we really, I think, imagine a world where I can deliver my projects seamlessly, deliver my projects like I deliver, for example, or do my projects like in a factory, right? A factory have a very systematic way and digitized processes. And today, unfortunately, the construction industry is very like a manual
Mm-hmm.
exercise, really. And this is where things get a bit messy and slow.
Every industry is actually becoming more digitized. And so it's interesting that you said that you wish it could be more digitized so it could be more controlled. Are there spaces where people are experimenting in your industry in that digital realm? So are there some things that could be 3D printed or digitally designed or AI enabled, like any of those things that people are experimenting with?
Absolutely. I mean, and we do try to adopt these. So we're trying to even apply pilots here and there just to test, and make sure that it is aligned with our objectives and it really achieves the promise that it's set to achieve. Like, and not just in terms of the construction methodology, but also behind that, as you said, like design. How can we? Because we know the guidelines. The guidelines have been there for a while. Why don't I have an AI, for example, that would, if I give the idea, it would design and give me all of the concept designs and detailed designs and prepares my tender documents. Executing contracts, like we can use or utilize blockchain really, because to ensure that we're being fair to ourselves and fair to the contractors, right? Why don't we use that? And it's been used. Again, it's not as wide as we wish, but I do believe that it will come. It's just a matter of time and investment, but it will come very soon. Yeah.
Can you give some more detailed explanation around the blockchain use in construction?
Yes, so I would say we can use it like one of the examples you can use it in procurement, right? So
Hmm.
if you want to execute contracts, you put all the guidelines and the policies and what have you within the smart contracts, right? And then once the contractor achieves a certain milestone, it automatically triggers a payment, for example, or it automatically triggers a release in a certain bond or whatever, right? So this is where we can use blockchain in the procurement and much, of course, much more than that. Also in terms of the supply chain, like if I'm talking about sustainability and making sure that we procure sustainable material, we want to make sure that the source, it comes from the source and it's sustainable, right? So, and blockchain can help us with that and to achieve our sustainability goals and net zero goals even faster.
This is really fascinating. It's making me wonder, why is it that this is more not broadly used in the industry yet? What do you think is the roadblock to getting more blockchain into the supply chain?
I think it's just, as I said, like people are very comfortable with the status quo, at least some. A lot of people are very resistant to change, like, and
Hmm.
it just requires the leadership that would push this through. I really believe because I experience it with my team and with the other teams as well, where you always have people who are pushing back, not just because they would want to push back, but just they're scared of the change or they feel like the change will slow them down and whatever, and it's not tested yet and what have you. And this is where I believe the role of the leaders, ensuring that all your managers and sub managers have that thinking and want to push and disrupt, and use different technologies within the way they do their businesses. Because again, disruption and innovation doesn't happen in the boardroom. It happens if we empower the team and we make the team really understand put the solution to their problem because they are closer to the problem. I think this is where, we can disrupt, right? So I believe it's employer, employee, a mix of both to really make this happen faster.
I'm sure this applies to every industry, not just in construction. But another question I
True.
had is, given the work that you do, you're looking also outside of your company and outside of your country to see what are other practices around the world. What is something that you saw that you thought was really imaginative or different and it caught your eye?
I would see there are a lot of things that caught my eye, really. I mean, there the different, for example, sustainability practices, right? That's really amazing. There is one building, if I can recall, in New York, where during construction they suck away the CO2 emissions of the concrete, and then they go and they inject it again to the concrete mix. And this is an amazing way to really capture the concrete, capture the CO2, and also injecting it in our concrete to make it even stronger. So it's an amazing thing, and I think it's a simple thing that could be implemented. There's a lot of practices out there, and this is where I believe like it's very important to really look out and keep on looking and keep on inviting and be open-minded to check out these innovations that's happening and see what can you apply immediately to the construction industry, to the way you do your work, even the simple stuff. Applying, as I said, applying AI, there's a lot of data out there, and I think that data is really power. However, it's not utilized or we're having lost opportunity in using the data from the site, from all of those, cost reports, all of those progress reports, the supply chain. If we can be able to use all of this data to understand the business even better and try to mitigate our risks even better, I think that will make us in a very much better position.
That's really fascinating. And it's very imaginative to take the CO2 out and then put it back in. And then as a result, the concrete becomes stronger. Science is really, truly
Yes.
amazing. So I know you're focusing more on sustainability now. That's something that is of interest to you. Do you have any kind of examples or things that you are imagining, like in 20 years, 50 years, what people are going to be doing in the construction industry in terms of sustainable practices?
Yeah, I would say I hope it comes before 20 or 30 years. I hope it comes sooner, right? So using sustainable machinery on the site, reducing the use of waste material. And we're starting to see that, right? So people you take out the construction waste and then taking it to the recycling facility and then back into the same project. So that circular economy within the construction project is amazing and is fascinating. I imagining seeing, a net zero building, which again we've seen some companies from the States and from China where it's a reality, it's happening. It's just how can we make it cost effective and feasible to apply it, on volume of projects. And again, I mean, using sustainable material, reducing the use of fuel and using alternative renewable energy to really electrify your buildings, electrify your machinery on site, recycling the water from the building out again to the building. So all of these things is an imaginative ideas, and I believe we've seen some that are coming, and we need it to be on a volume.
As you're saying all of this, I'm visually imagining this circular economy on the construction site where the water gets brought back and the materials are reused. That would
Yeah.
be really great. So construction and architecture have had many waves. There's the trying to reduce the wasteful part is what we're in right now, focus on sustainability and reducing waste. And also when the buildings are built, for it to have a lower energy consumption and all of that. But something that I see that's on the horizon is a focus on how the built environment can also be part of our wellness. And I think that that's a very kind of new concept. Do you have any thoughts on that? Have you seen anything? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and that's amazing. I know that there's some certification that we need to take in terms of wellness for our communities, and actually ensuring that our buildings or our communities are designed to enhance that. So it's designed to help you walk. It's designed to help you, watch your kids without really being scared or having always be available with them. Those amazing playgrounds, even looking or thinking about the elderly, right? How can we grow safer and happier and like for example, one like we do that in our projects where we ensure that the expansion to the homes allow that the elderlies or our parents can live with us in the home and have that cultural and community bonding more and more. What we do is like it's not just about constructing, it's really about creating communities and touching the lives of all of those who's living in those communities and really catering for all ages, right? For the young, for the working mom, for the father, for the grandfather, and all the family.
I have always found it fascinating that architects and all those in the construction industry are building something that's going to outlive them their entire life. Like they pass away, yet what they've created lives on, and all these other people continue to be a part of it and either enjoy it or not enjoy it, depending on how well it was built. And you brought up
Yeah.
the elderly, and that was going to be my next question because our demographics around the world are changing, particularly in industrialized countries. And we are leaning more and more towards demographics where our population is more older than it was before. And so now there's more conversations of, well, if we're going to have a larger group of people over 65, what kinds of buildings do we need to have for them? So you talked about one about having an area of the house that where the elderly can be, but how about the population itself that ages? Are there things that you could share around how to create, build, or think about this older population that's coming ahead of us?
Absolutely. I'll give you the example of the UAE. So there is a huge focus on the elderly in terms of making it very easy for them to on their day-to-day activities, right? So as
Hmm.
I said, we're building homes to cater for them. We're doing those community gatherings and community clubs to really ensure that they're always active, they always talk to each other. Because after, let's say, retirement, we try to fill their time with really, stuff that will keep them thinking, that will keep them active. We do have, community centers for the elderly and their meetings and what have you, engaging them within the communities, as well as, different, I would say, and that's available worldwide, giving them certain privileges, right, to make their lives much more easier. And even one of the things that I find really fascinating in the UAE that they would send from time to time, they would send all the nurses and the doctors to their home to take care of them at their home free of charge. Again, it comes from the government and the policies and how they want to
Mhm,
really
mhm.
take care of their aging community and engage them and make sure that they're active and they're healthy at the end of the day.
This reminds me of aging in place. And while sometimes, the building's already built, so you want to not leave your home, but you need to restructure your home. And so whether it's nurses coming in or just you are able to live on your own, but you need some modifications, are there things when you talk about modular construction, is there something where as your life changes, you can rechange your home? Is that like a thing? Is that even possible?
Exactly. So again, it's like a Lego where there are some pieces where you add and remove, and that's absolutely possible, right? And this is where, when you design, as you said, those homes that you're building and those communities that you're building, they're there to stay for a very, very long time. And it's really touching a lot of generations. So how can you ensure that it caters for all of those generations that's going to come. And this is where you need to design long term, right? Ensure that the community caters for that. And modular construction, even normal construction, can accommodate that with the right design, ensuring that, for example, the base of the pipes or the electricity or the foundation or whatever caters for that in case of a future you want to add that, so you have that flexibility.
So this is kind of like the logistics part of it. But when you say about
Yeah.
designing for communities, putting aside the kind of technical aspects of construction, what are the more emotional aspects? Like when you say design, what are the communities you engage with? What are the experts who are the people? How is the thinking, the imagining? Walk me through that part before it even gets to the construction phase. So how do you design a community?
We basically do a lot of, consultation and understanding. So we talk to people, we do survey our clients, right, to understand what's their needs, their age, where do they work. Some of them are here for retirement, some of them are living, and buying just for investment. How many kids do they have? Do they go to school? What's their life pattern? Like, we do ask a lot of questions and do a lot of surveys to really understand our community people, or the people who would be living in our communities, better to cater for their needs. That's one thing. And then again, we what we do is we build as one of the largest developers in the UAE. We build communities not just for our own clients, but we do also build communities on behalf of the government. So we are building on behalf of the government national housing projects. And national housing projects, we take our experience and we take also the experience of the government authority, who gets also in touch with the with the locals to understand their needs and what have you. So all of that goes into the design. There are certain guidelines that we have to follow, like, for example, having cycling tracks is a must now in all our communities. Having the electric vehicle parking is a must in all our communities. Having a garden within the community. Some of our communities have even edible gardens where you can go and you can plant and have your own vegetables and what have you, within the community itself. So there's edible parks, there is dog parks. So we try to really cater for all of the community needs and make sure that it's a happy place. It's a place where they make memories. I remember when I was small and living in our apartment in Abu Dhabi, and I'm sure you do have some memories, of your first home or the home that you grew up in, and so this is really, it sticks in your mind even when you grow older, when you have your own kids or you get married or whatever. It's always nostalgic, and this is, we want to really make sure that we engrave nice memories for all people living in our communities.
What a privilege to be able to do such a job.
I'm lucky. It's amazing. I enjoy my work. Yeah.
So I have one last question for you. If you could dream up your wildest dream of what your industry could produce, could give to the end users or anything like that, what is your wildest dream where you're like, if magic was possible, what would you make happen?
If magic was possible, I would say a net zero building built in 6 months. Okay, with the same price as what we have today of our normal houses today. So just touching on those three important aspects, technically and operational wise, I would say that's my wildest dream. And also just having open communities where people can live, work, grow, and enjoy themselves. Yeah.
Well, I think you need to write that down. 6 months net zero. That should be your target now.
That's a very, very ambitious target. It will come, but I hope it comes soon.
Well, thank you so much, Asma, for taking the time to share your perspectives. I appreciate it.
Sure, sure. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Lydia.